Here we only speak English.
Okay. I can't find you on your YouTube channel.
Let me see. I'm just gonna go and see if I actually is live. My channel. Yes, I am live.
Okay, how do I find you?
Under videos.
Well,
You need to retest it, but I'm live.
okay, because I can't see you.
Can I take a look, please?
Okay, I'm talking.
Can I take a look?
Jaha.
Frågar du jättesnällt.
Mm.
Nu är det med kommer. Yes, I'm there. Just nu är det just... Du behöver bara ladda om den. Jag är ju där.
Jaha.
Jag är ju där, mamma.
Jaha, okej, sorry.
Ser du?
Okej.
Jag är lite efter.
Ja.
Okay, sorry for that, guys. I know nobody's watching, but let's do it either way. So the plan is I'm not ending this live stream before I know how to sculpt like professionally sculpted hands. I'm so bad at sculpting hands, so I thought why not make it into a live stream. I don't really know much more what I'm supposed to say, but I've never done it before, so please critique if you got any like suggestions or anything like that. So if you hear somebody like snoring in the background, it's just my mom. Or my dog. Probably not my dog, at least. So I just thought let's do it. Let's begin. Okay, so as you can see here, this is my like Arnold Schwarzenegger sculpture I did a while ago. So I'm just gonna take my reference app so I can start. Something like that. Okay, so I just thought that I would begin with some very simple sculpting from a sphere. Something like this. And yeah, now the tricky part begin actually start to sculpt. I am so bad at sculpting hands, but I'm here to learn, so let's do it. Yeah, so okay, I'm finding some great reference. Something like this should probably work. Yeah, so okay, I'm just gonna start. I have no time to lose, so okay. I'm actually gonna start with a square instead. So projects and a cube. Now everybody can see how slow I am at sculpting. So, okay, I am pretty slow at sculpting actually, but I thought that we could just begin something like this. Yeah, something like that. Okay. Let me use this tool. Before we start dragging the fingers out, I'm just gonna scale this down so I get a little bit more space to work with. Let's make this shape like this. Spoke to my teacher today at high school to give me some tips on how to create hands. And he gave me some really great advice, so that was great. So I'm gonna try it out. And this is also gonna become a YouTube tutorial later on, because people want to know how to sculpt hands, so I just thought why not just make a tutorial of it as well. Just sculpting the wrist here, as you can see. Yes, I'm just gonna kind of make something like this. Just gonna indicate where the thumb area is supposed to be, and the best reference for a hand is your own hand. So if you if you see me like staring at my own hand like this, I'm just trying to figure out like point of view and trying to reference it. So yeah, okay. Let's see, where do we have it? There, inflate. Inflating it like that. Just gonna use the Dynamesh feature. Something like that. Perfect. Something beside it's starting to look a little bit weird. Yeah, we can't have it like that, so we're just gonna indicate the shapes. This. Just starting out. This is just for learning, so it's gonna take some time for me to do this. But I am in no way in a hurry, so yeah, let's just sculpt. You can see the overall features like this. Something like that, and just indicating it. Something like this. I'm just gonna sculpt what I see instead of what I think I'm gonna sculpt, because I can't sculpt hands, as I said before. Yes, you can see this is the hard part for me, because you should get these thin areas like this, and I don't like it. Something like that, just indicating some more shapes. I hope to watch my video I just posted today about how to improve your overall sculpture. It's not very long, but it's just an introduction, because I'm gonna do a lot of like, or 4 or 5 videos or something on how to improve your sculpture more in depth. So that's the plan. Here I'm just gonna do a thumb, just put it outwards like this, something like that. The thumb looks like it actually has an angle. That's what my teacher said, like this. Bigger angle than you think. Something like that, and then just making thumb shape like that. Okay, that was probably the weirdest shaped thumb I've seen in my entire life. We're just gonna fix the overall shape very quickly and create these bony areas right here. Yeah, you see, this is why we have we were testing before actually doing some real tutorials stuff, because otherwise it's just gonna look like this, and this looks very, very bad. I'm pretty tired as well, so yeah, I've had a long day, so just gonna chill with you guys and sculpt something like this. Yeah, and I'm just thinking gonna indicate this like so, and from this side I just wanna erase, because it makes my brain a little bit happier. Can indicate these planes here, and I'm of course watching a reference. In the beginning I'm not gonna use too much reference, because I just wanna create the overall base shape. I actually think that doesn't look too bad for like overall start. I would want a little bit more of an angle right here, because it's a little bit more round, and the wrist ain't this like perfect. It's not this straight, so I'm just gonna indicate the wrist how it actually would more look, something like this maybe. I'm just gonna indicate it something like this, indicate the bone structure as well, especially here at the side. Don't know how the bone actually connects to the hand, because mostly focused on muscle anatomy, and big surprise, there aren't much muscles in the hand. There are like one big here, one here, and that's basically it. Like, it's a couple of muscles then there are mostly tendons. Something like so. Creating tendons like this, creating this big one right here. And then we're just gonna create these shapes. Okay, something like that. I'm gonna create. My teacher said something about a triangular shape here. Yeah, I can see it. Okay, great. Here is triangular shape. Alright, here I'm just gonna indicate these shapes a little bit more clear so it's very easy for me to see them. Just over exaggerating every single shape right now. I don't recommend it super much to do this every time if you know the shape, but like really enjoy over exaggerating shapes because it's a lot of fun. Something like that, that looks a little bit better. We're gonna create this curvature up here as well, something like that. And we're just gonna shoot one finger at a time. Something like so, I think. Here it's same distance from the finger, down there, yeah. This finger works pretty nicely actually. We're still gonna need to do some tweaks before we can even add another finger in. Okay, it's something like this. Just wanna, he said, my teacher said it was more like pointed towards this end. So I'm creating it pointy right there. I want it pretty sharp because the finger is more square than it's round, but just gonna indicate some roundness in it as well, so it doesn't look too flat. Like this, and then I'm gonna indicate the next finger. Something like that. This is not as tall as this finger, but it's still pretty tall. Something like that, I would say. And I'm just gonna mask this finger out like that. And I'm gonna use this brush here to just get a little bit more round. Something like that. Make it more pointed towards this end, because yeah, as well. Something like that, I think. Something like that. I'm just going to indicate this plane right here. Something like that. Looks like a pretty decent start. I just want to make this finger a little bit of an angle. Something like that. I think should work fine. Just doing one finger one by one. It's nothing special, just takes a lot of time. Not too much, but it's not the most exciting process, but it does create a finger, and we need 5 fingers, so something like this, and we can just turn it something like that from the beginning. Something like that. Okay, now I think we're just gonna use the trim dynamic. Like this. Using it like so. I still need to watch a lot more reference so I see that everything is correct. Know right now that most things aren't, so I'm just gonna lock in the basic shapes for the fingers first. Something like that, that works as a base. Something like that, and we're just gonna indicate this last little finger. Something like that. And we're just gonna indicate it because this needs some changes to it right away. Something like that. Just gonna create a little bit more like square finger, but still keep the roundness. It's difficult to describe, but yeah, I think you see what I mean when I'm sculpting. So yeah, I don't think I need to explain that too much. Something like that. That looks ridiculously small, but will work. Just give it some time and I'll fix it. Needs a little bit more thickness. Something like this. Yeah, it looks ridiculously bad. I'm gonna keep these shapes right here and start with making the difference, this like angle that's down here, starting to make that angle. Something like so should work. Here, just changing the overall shape a little bit. Okay, now we need to start to measure stuff, because we have the basic shape locked in. And we need, yeah, we're gonna start measuring this. Okay, so I have my reference here. Perfect. Yes, again. Okay. Just gonna start. This finger. Just gonna something like this, and from this side a lot bigger right here than it's these points. I'm just looking at my own finger and trying to replicate the little shapes that the hand has. Something like that. I think it's fine. This doesn't look as good though. I just need to put it down a little bit, like this, slimming it down, making sure the shapes start to make some sense. The finger actually looks a little bit longer than this, so I'm just gonna make it a little bit slimmer, because that's give it the illusion of being a little bit longer. that. Masking this finger out. It's way too thick, that's the first thing I can say. Creating the knuckle shape here somewhere. Something like this. So I have this like weird shape here at my hand, so I'm just gonna indicate it. It's a little bit too thick right now on this side, so I'm just gonna this shape up here. Get it like so, because I have this weird like shape here. I'm just exaggerating it a little bit as well. Like that, but I want that thickness there. I need to make this just a little bit thicker, something like so. Yeah, that probably will work. Just gonna add some more shapes to the third finger. I'm like no super fan of sculpting hands, but I want to learn how to do it, so just thought, why not try to learn with you guys. So that was like my idea, something like this, and I can see from the shape of my finger that this goes upwards, and I have this really like curve downwards, and it's a lot my finger's very round right here, something like that. Sculpting. It looks a little bit too thick in the front right here. I'm just gonna slim it down a little bit, somewhat like this. And then I think I'm just gonna change the shape of the little finger real quick. That's gonna take off so I can work. Something like this. First thing we need to change is just creating the overall shape. Very roundish, but still not round. It's very weird to describe. Something like that. Side very round, and from this point, oh wait, I forgot to make this like pointy. Create a little bit more pointy shape like that. Then here something like that, and here we just have this like big shape like that. And from the top we have this weird shape here, and this shape inwards like this. Here we have it a little bit thicker. I think the base shapes of the fingers looks actually fine. Something like this. And I think the hardest thing when sculpting hands is to actually sculpt it in this like generic, like not T-pose, but you understand what I mean, shape, because it's no like volume in the hand. It's nothing. It's just like this. There are no shape, no like real big shapes to use. Just need to like figure it out, and it's really hard. But when it's like, if you hold your hand like this or something, more easily to sculpt because of these shapes that getting squashed together or squished together. They create these folds. gonna see if I'm gonna sculpt the thumb inwards or no. I think I'm gonna keep it pretty like this, or like this generic straightening pose. Something like this, I think. Something like that. And I'm gonna do a lot of more tutorials on different subjects in the near future, so keep an eye out for them. I'm gonna be starting to upload lots more content. It takes a long time for me to create a single video because a lot of editing and stuff like that, but yeah, I'm trying to do my best to keep adding more and more videos to the channel. This is hard. This thumb shape is really hard. Something like that, I think, should be a pretty good base. From the side like that, it doesn't look like this. It more looks like this, having this shape here, adding this like sharp angle right there. It's pretty thick. Here it's pretty thick here as well. And then here we can do it easily, just point it like this. To create a basic thumb shape, and we just need to point it a little bit more towards inwards like this, and a little bit more angle to it, something like that. I think should work pretty well, actually. In a little bit more of an angle, something like that. The angle is pretty important because you can't really like rotate your thumb, so getting that angle right is crucial. It's probably a way bigger angle than you think, because I'm just watching here the angle there. It's actually a bit more downwards, like so. Something like this, I think, is fine, actually. Okay, so now we're gonna start adding more shapes. Something like this, just adding these shapes here. Just having a ton of references, of course. Here, just using move brush, move the geometry around. I'm gonna use my references. I think that's the easiest thing for me to do. The reference to try to get a better result. Something like this, I think, should work. Something like that. I'm just gonna add this a little bit larger shape here, this muscly shape, and then add this like shape around here, and then this shape that goes up here, goes through here, and this like a shape that flows here, and of course some shapes here and some shape here. Something like that. I think that looks fine. It's a little bit deep here, I would say. Of course, I have some curvature to it, but not this much. More like that. Looks fine, I think. Something like this. I feel something like this. I think it's gonna work. There's just my mom in the background. Something like so. Yeah, we're starting to get some basic shape of a hand. Very, very basic, but starting to get a basic shape, so that's really great actually. So we can keep working and work a little bit more on the detail side of things, or mid-frequency. Something like this. Yeah, it works at least. Now here we're gonna start with the shapes. Something like this as well. Something like that. I think I can add some more topology because I want to indicate some stuff and I can't really do it that easily. Something like that. Does this not look too much? Kinda works. Doesn't look super good, but works as a base. And here we just have this downward angle. Something like that. And I'm just gonna use zero measure, keep the same amount of polygons or faces. I'm not super good with the word in how to use the words within 3D, but I think I understand it good enough. So something like so. I'm just gonna start with carving in where I want the shapes to go. Shapes to go, because like see here I want some like free skin here, the skin in between, let's see, the skin in between there, between the fingers, you can see here, between the fingers. I'm gonna create that skin. Then I'm just gonna create the overall shape here. Something like that, and something like so. I'm just gonna create these very basic indications so I know where I'm gonna have them. That was really bad actually. And then this like something like that, and something like that's kind of gonna be the same height, but not really. Something like just to indicate where I want it. Something like Yeah, something like that. Okay, so somewhat like this, and just looks a bit too square right now. This is actually pretty square, but not this square. Or something like that. Just give this a little bit more roundness here. Don't know. Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, sure, I can give you some tips on the shoulders. No problem. Just gonna quick save this so I can go to the shoulder. Give me 1 second. Okay, so are you having trouble with connecting the overall like pectoralis muscle, the chest muscle, to the shape of the arm? Or have you trouble with just connecting the overall shape of the deltoids, the shoulder muscles, and the torso together? So I'm gonna help you just so I know. Okay, so I'm just gonna start to like guess the problems you're having. Okay, I will just, if this is like the basic shoulder here, we just can indicate the basic shapes. Something like this. We just have this torso part here, and I'm gonna create this muscle here of the pectoralis major, the chest muscle. Something like this. Yeah, something like this. Then I'm just gonna create a little part of the arm right here. So, I can't connect shoulders with arm and torso. Oh, of course, yeah. Okay, that's what I thought you had problem with, so I'm gonna just try to explain it. So, if this is the arm, here, we're just gonna start with indicating the overall basic shapes of the muscles, the triceps here, just creating a basic shape. This shape actually go underneath the deltoid muscle. Wait, that's the wrong one. Underneath the deltoid. So make sure that the deltoid muscle is on top of the overall tricep muscle. And it's actually pretty slim towards the end right here. Something like that. Yeah, that looks good enough. Then we have the bicep that connects underneath the chest muscle from here. So underneath. Let me just create some very basic shape for a bicep real quickly. Something like that. And the chest muscle, this point of the chest muscle connects to this bone here. Arm, a bone to the arm. I don't know the technical name of just that bone, but it connects like this. But you don't gonna show it that well because it's covered with fat and skin. So to connect the deltoid connect to the middle of the bone. So we're just gonna create this shape right here. You can see this like weird shape. It looks super weird, but they all gonna go towards the same spot, towards this like cavity in here, towards the cavity. So make sure that you like direct them all towards the same cavity. This is gonna look a little bit weird. I'm kind of like creating over-exaggerated shoulder muscles like here, like I'm a bodybuilder or something. Then I'm just gonna use connect the clavicle. Connects here. And here the neck begins. Or somewhere around there. Yep. I think... Yeah, I'm just gonna make it a little bit easier to read all of this stuff. I'm just gonna wait 1 second. Something like this, and I think it's gonna be a little bit easier to read. Yeah, something like that. And the clavicle right here, this part of the shoulder is on this side of the clavicle, and this shoulder is like connecting point or something like that. And then here, of course, goes back to the, goes like the scapula to the back. Right here. So it gets like this half circle right here. And make sure that these are kind of on the same level. This is just very basic indications, so this isn't perfect sculpting right now, as you probably can see. I'm just going to smooth it out a little bit. You can probably see how it starts to feel like it's more connected. Something like this. Yeah, and okay, just give me 1 second. I'm just gonna think how to explain this. Okay, so here, as I said before, tricep connecting here underneath the deltoid part or deltoid muscle part right here, and these deltoid muscles are all going to the same spot towards this direction. Just gonna make it look a little bit more realistic. I had a lot of trouble with the shoulder in the beginning, so totally understand. Something like this, and just creating this cavity here. Something like this. Creating this cavity here, so these three muscles, three parts of a muscle. This one is furthest down, and these two are higher up, like this. Something this. I'm just going to use the trim dynamic to very quickly show some very basic planes. So as you can see here, I'm just indicating the planes, and here, very important area. This I usually over exaggerate these features here, where the bicep and all these muscles connect. It's gonna make it real clear where they all connect. As you can see, I'm just making it real clear where they all are connecting. This part is connecting to the clavicle right here. Something like this. Do you want, I hope this was to some sort of help at least. Do you want me to show how the back is connecting to the arm as well? So please tell me if you want that. That's basically how I connect it. You can see here, going like this, the muscles. Or do you want me to show how I usually add fat and skin on top? If you want any of that, yes, please tell me and I will of course show you. It was a great question. Just gonna go here. Here I was working. Okay, so now I'm just gonna keep working at the hand, something like... Oh, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. I hope it was to some help at least. If you have any more questions, don't hesitate. Just please ask them. I'm more than happy to help. So thank you so much for your question. Okay, I'm just gonna start with this area right here. And then I'm gonna add this area right here. I'm just looking at reference. Just search for hand reference for sculpting or sculpture, something like that, I think. And I just found some amazing reference. So it's really easy to sculpt following these references. Something like this. I would just wanna create these shapes right here, this muscle right here. Okay, I'm just gonna indicate some of the planes. Get some of the planes right here. Indicate some more shapes. Something like this. Somewhat like that. Yeah, I think that's starting to look fine actually. Then just adding the shapes right here. And indicating some more shapes. Very important to like, especially in the beginning, just over exaggerate the shapes. Let's see here now. Something like that. Yeah, something like that. I don't like that shape. I just want to create this nice flow here. From all different angles. Yeah, you can see it looks terrible from top. Starting to look a little bit better from the bottom. I just gonna... Give me 1 second, guys. I'm just gonna bring my dog. Yeah, I have a little dog here. He's going on a walk. Okay, so let's continue. Okay, I'm just thinking about adding some more shapes here. More shapes. Something like this, just making sure that is this like wrinkle here. I'm trying to like just talk as I go, because I don't really know what I'm doing when I'm creating hands, because I'm not used to sculpting them. I have done some decent hands in the past, I guess, but they're not super good, but they kind of looked fine from a little bit of a distance. Just want to learn how to sculpt. Really want to work in the industry one day, because it will be a lot of fun to work on movies in the future. Hope that will work out, but only time will tell. Okay, now we're just gonna create some more like square looking shapes right here. And from the side here, this doesn't work. I'm just gonna look at my own hand. Something like, oh. I'm just gonna mask this part out. Something like that. that, so I just easily can create more shapes. Something like this. And I'm gonna add some more shapes right here. I just like square shapes at the top because they really help the overall shape and feeling of the fingers. Something like that. Yeah, I'm starting to get some basic shapes down. Something like this. Yeah, I think that's starting to look fine out actually. Something like this. Adding more and more volume. Something like that. And okay, just gonna create some more shapes. Here, I'm missing some of these shapes right here, and I'm gonna try to learn how they are placed. I really want to make a tutorial on how to sculpt a hand, but I don't feel like I'm ready, because I don't make great hands yet. But yeah, the only thing you can do is to work and try not, instead of working even harder, of course you should work hard, but try working smarter. Like using a lot of reference and really just studying the overall shapes instead of just sitting like 100 hours straight and just going through it and sculpting hands without any like reference. You need to practice art smart, and that's what I'm trying to do. I'm learning still very much, but I'm gonna try to wait, I'm just gonna focus 1 second. Okay, let's see here now. Let's just create this. These shapes right here, you see from this side, they actually work out pretty well. Yeah, they kind of works. Just gonna need to like exaggerate to make this less exaggerated. Make this really like stand out like this, and then just use this brush to just make it a little bit less visible, because this part is really just gonna supposed to blend in with the others. Maybe more like that. I think that actually starts to look fine out, I guess. Now I'm almost sculpted from hour. Yeah, so soon we're done with the first hour. That's nice, I guess. Almost got an hour. Trying to sculpt as much as I can every day, because I want to get better, you know. So, but still the first time live streaming, so I've never done this before. I'm just gonna try this out. These shapes right here. They are like it's a lot and a lot of shapes. A ton of variation. Do the top part of the hand. Gonna start off with the knuckles. Oh, hi Nicholas. How you doing? Yeah, my first live stream. Okay, let's just add in knuckles right here. Just gonna try to add these knuckles easily. Oh, I didn't remember that you gave me that idea, I'm sorry. But yeah, I'm streaming now. Just gonna need to focus on sculpting a little bit, because this is hard. Just indicating where I want the knuckles. Okay, but I see. Yeah, I'm doing great. Actually enjoying it really much to get. I actually got a really good question, so I'm really happy with that question because it was fun to answer that. So I'm doing really well actually. Okay, I'm just indicating the knuckles right here. Something like this, and yeah, we have this big like skinny part, or part that's a little bit more like fleshy like, or just pure fat, I think. I'm not really sure. Need to read a lot more about anatomy of the hand. Yeah, so okay, something like that. This might actually be one of the best hands I ever created. This doesn't look pretty nice, especially from these angles. From this side, it doesn't look really nice out actually. Doesn't look super real yet. I'm sure it's gonna look better in the end. Here, these parts can actually be dragged downwards a little bit. Something like this, so get this like angle here. Something like this. Okay. Indicating the bone a little bit more. Really want to start to work on those fingers very soon. I'm just gonna start with the tendons right here that connects all to the same spot. Learned that in a rigging tutorial. Not good at rigging at all. Trying to learn. Yeah, but if you ask me, the best thing about sculpting is just creating, or just the thinking part of everything, just getting your brain around how everything works, how the anatomy of the fingers, the hand and the arm, how everything goes together and how it all works as one like solid object. Or I don't really know how to say it, but yeah, I really love that like puzzle solving. It drives me nuts if I don't really understand how something works. So yeah, a couple of days ago, I got stuck I'm trying to sculpt a dinosaur. So I got stuck at the dinosaur like feet, and I didn't understand the anatomy, and it just drove me crazy. So I took a sketchbook and started sketching a ton of cassowary, emu, and ostrich feet, just in trying to learn like the three-dimensional shape of how it actually looked and worked. And it took some some time, but I actually think I figured it out a little bit better. I'm not completely sure yet, but you can never be sure at anatomy, right? Always a thing that you can improve. Oh, I'm just gonna create this plane right here, because this plane here looks nice. This shape here with the tendons. Just creating it with the flow with the tendons. Very, very nice. And here it's actually 2 tendon parts, or like 2 parts. Here down we're gonna have wrinkles later on, but we're just gonna create this like big tendon that I know goes here. Something like that. And just gonna make these shapes go with the hand a little bit better. Just think I'm gonna have a 5-minute break soon, because yeah, my neck and everything is starting to get a little bit sore. So in a few minutes I'm gonna take a couple of minutes of a break, and then I will be back. So yeah, just gonna increase this. What did I do that was so smart? Was he talking about a break? Yeah, I need to take a break. Want to be able to do this a lot more. I want to be able to sculpt a long time. Yeah, I actually have sculpted some female bodies. I actually have sculpted a female base mesh. Don't know if I can show you that on YouTube, because I don't think I can show it on YouTube. Yeah, but yeah, I like to sculpt all different types of bodies, but for like, I don't know what. Give me 1 second, guys. Yeah, it's easier to keep it like PG-13 if you just keep it to male base mesh. But yeah, I also sculpt female base meshes. But yeah, it's fun to sculpt. Can I ask what you are sculpting? I guess you were sculpting some kind of human. Is that correct? Okay, let's see as these planes. Just gonna add some more shapes. This shape here, make it a little bit more round like that. Something like this, and I'm gonna start to add some more shapes here. But would you like me to do a female base mesh sculpt as a live stream? Like in a couple of days? I would be more than happy to do it, so if that would be something you think would be a great idea, please tell me. So yeah. And I have started to work on those, like I have already started to take a look at hair making inside of Blender. I've only used XGen before, so yeah, but I'm looking into it. Just give me like a week or something, and maybe a week or two, and I'll figure it out. Something like this. Just creating some more shapes. Something like this, just adding some more shape to the overall knuckles, or not knuckles, the overall finger shape. Oh, here it looks bad. It looks real bad. Yeah, that's an extremely easy fix. To give it a little bit more shape, like so. Just adding these shapes. Something like so. I'm starting to think looks fine. I don't know how far I need to take the hand before I'm settled or happy with it, so I'm not gonna go into like skin details or like pore details and stuff like that. I just wanna create the mid frequency so I'm happy with it, and maybe some lumps and bumps. Something like so. Yeah, I think that starts to look pretty fine out actually. Let's see here. Yeah, I'm just gonna start with indicating these shapes. Here, these like wrinkly shapes that even somebody my age have. And here, this finger looks horrifyingly bad. Something like so. Just gonna yeah, as I said before, I'm good. If you think it would be a great idea to create like a live stream of creating of sculpting a female like base mesh or something like that, I would be happy to do it. Just let me know. So, and is it something like specific you having a lot of trouble with? Yeah, you just know. Don't even don't hesitate. Just ask, cause I'm more than happy to help you out. I don't really know what that means. Vulnerant. I don't really understand what it means. That means I'm not super good with all these new words. Just trying to understand everything that's happening in this sculpting world. Yeah, but characters are hard to create. It's a lot of work, but it's really rewarding afterwards, because it's just a lot of fun to see your character come to life. Yeah, something like So I think create the base shape of the thumb. Actually starting to look pretty good out actually. Yeah, I'm gonna give him some nails very soon, but yeah, I'm trying to figure out the general shapes of the hand. But I'm gonna give him nails soon. Yeah, and don't know if you guys notice, if you haven't watched like one of my newer videos, I actually am giving out free critique. Just hit me up on Instagram. I have the link to my Instagram in many descriptions of my videos. If you want critique, I can give you critique if you have created something with the help of my tutorials or tips or tricks or something like that, and I can help you out with some critique. So I would be happy to do it. So, yes, you know. Okay, how this shape looks finally made. Gonna do low intensity. Something like so. Yeah, those hand proportions look a little bit weird. We're gonna make it a little bit more squished together. Something more like that. From this angle I need a little bit longer. This is actually very hard. Hands are extremely precise to sculpt. They are almost as hard to sculpt as faces, I think. Faces are really hard, and especially likeness sculpts. Yeah, they're really hard to sculpt. Okay, I'm gonna block in some nails very soon now, so it's gonna start with these shapes. Something like this. I don't like these shapes. Something like that, and something like okay, something like this. I'm just gonna try to get these shapes down. Don't think they look very nice, so I'm trying to improve them. Should actually look fine instead of this like bad like they're looking right now. This yeah, it takes some time to create a hand when I'm super bad at them, but yeah, something like this. This part can be a little bit further inwards. Something like that. something like this. Okay. I think I'm starting to get ready to give him this guy some nails. So yeah, just gonna make this a little bit wider. Yeah, let's give him some nails, because it's starting to look a little bit weird without them. Something like so. Okay, so the nails are actually extremely round, they're not laying flat, so I'm just gonna start creating this round shape so I have a nice base to put them on. But I just need to make sure that the base for the nails are nicely laid out before I actually place out the nails, because otherwise it's going to be harder or not going to go as quickly. And yeah, I'm trying to save some time right here because I really want to sculpt these, but I want to make sure that I use my time sparingly, I think it's called in English, I'm not sure. Something like this. Yeah, oh, here you can see this like fold right there. Fold. Just this, really try to focus on the details, and not like the details of the mid frequency, because that was really makes or breaks your sculpture. At least that's what I think. Something like, oh my god, this finger looks bad. This finger looks bad. And you said you were doing a character for a game. Yeah, I'm actually helping one student that goes to my school that's I think 2 years older than me. Yeah, helping her out to help her understand how to create a character, helping her so it becomes a little bit easier, because it's really hard to create characters. And I recommended to her to use, instead of using all of these like references of real people, use like references of exaggerated sculptures that makes you really easily understand the shapes, or use retopology images that helps you understand the topology and the shape and flow, how it's gonna look. That's at least a tip, because I really recommend that. It took me some time to understand, to use images like that. Okay, now I think the nail here can be added pretty soon at least. Yeah, but you can see this finger doesn't look good. This finger doesn't look good. Something like this. I'm just gonna add these shapes right here. Something like so. Something like this. Yeah, I'm just trying to give character to each and every finger. Spending way too much time on these fingers, but it's fun to give them character, I think. Yeah, I really enjoy sculpting character and creatures with all the anatomy and stuff like this. I don't know why I like anatomy so much, just it's very fascinating to me. All the muscles and tendons and skeleton, this stuff and how they all work together. I know a lot of people think it's really boring with anatomy, but I think it's fun. So, yeah. Okay. And if anybody's wondering, I started sculpting when I was 13 years old. No, I didn't start sculpting. I started with 3D when I was 13 years old. I'm now, I'm 16. I'm 16 years old now. Turning 17 this year actually. So I have a long way to go before I can sculpt or create anything like more seriously, because I'm still like new at stuff that I'm creating, but I really want to become better. But I think that some of the tips I give out can help you guys, so because I know that it can be real hard to start sculpting. I'm just gonna no, I'm actually gonna just use the trim dynamic. Something like, oh, thank you, Rogue Owl. Thank you so much. No, that's true. Yeah, you're right. It's very hard to create character, especially with the cloth. It's super hard, and Blender does not make it easier. No, I can just agree. It's super hard to create characters, but yeah, it's a lot of fun as well. So just try like tackling one problem at a time. Don't overwhelm yourself, because that's extremely easy to do. I remember in the start I didn't create the best characters, but just kept working, trying to become better, and finally I think it just clicked, and that's when I started learning anatomy, when everything really just clicked a little bit better. Something like this. We need to add the fingernails here soon now. Yeah, it's a lot of prep work to just add some fingernails. Just want that, so something like that. Like this, I think, is starting to look a little bit better. We can add fingernails there, that finger, almost to the little finger as well. I just need some final tweaks. Yeah, something like that. Some final tweaks, and we need some more volume to this little finger right here. Make it a little bit wider. Get everything to go together a little bit better as well. Something like that. That's gonna look a little bit better. Yeah, it's gonna take like a 2-minute break. Then when I come back, we're gonna take a look at the fingernails. That's the first thing we're gonna do. So yeah, just wait here 2 minutes, guys. I will be back very, very soon. So. Okay, I'm back now, guys. You guys can now read the comments that I missed. If I can make something close to Venom that you created, I would be very happy. It was amazing. Thank you so much. Yeah, it was a fun project. Yeah, I would be happy to do like longer tutorials again. I'm sure you can make something like that. It wasn't super good. Well, it was very rushed. Yeah, I promise you can make something like that. Just give it some time. Okay, I'm just gonna create the fingernails now. Gonna look at my own nails. Create intensity here. Something like this. Yeah, you see now they are very flat, and we don't want it this flat. Something like this. Something like it's really awesome to see these tutorials because I'm moving from physical sculpting to digital sculpting soon. Oh, that's amazing! Yeah, oh, thank you so much. Really appreciate the kind words. Are you working professionally, or are you just like doing it as a hobby? Because I know physical sculpting is extremely hard. I haven't even dared barely to attempt it. I did it a little bit when I was younger, but yeah, then I started with Zbrush and I was stuck. But yeah, really great to hear that you're going to start with some digital sculpting. It's a lot of fun, and it takes a lot less time than creating something in physical clay. Yes, I'm just creating fingernails right here, just indicating the basic shapes. You see it looks terrible out right now. Just give it some time, it's gonna look way better. And the fingernails are actually upwards a little bit like this. Something like that. Somewhat like this. Oh, nice! Yeah, I also do sculpting as a hobby. It's super fun. Glad to hear that you actually that you are doing something. I hope you are liking to sculpting when you're sculpting at your free time. So that's great to hear. Keep it up. Something like this, just adding the basic shapes of the fingernails. Yeah, you can see these two, that the fingernails doesn't look super good out right now, but I think digital sculpting is harder because so much information to process, but you make it look easy. Oh, thank you. It's not. I I think you will very soon realize it's not so much information to process, because I think everything is just about the fundamentals. So I think you're going to find it really easy to move to digital sculpting, especially if you're going to use like Zbrush. I don't know if you're going to what software you're going to use, but yeah, if you sculpt something later on, please tag me on Instagram so I can see what you're doing. Awesome that you're sculpting. Okay, I'm just gonna something like this. Make sure that the nails are rounded like this, they aren't flat. It's gonna need to double check that on every single finger. Round, round, not round enough. Something more like this. I think the nails are gonna start to get the basic shapes just blocked in. Something like that. What you have now is a pretty good video game quality. Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's a very indie game quality. Yeah, I know. It doesn't look very good yet. Definitely needs a lot more work. But yeah, I just started out, so I think it's gonna look a little bit better very soon out actually. Because it's gonna start adding some more shapes now. I think this angle's starting to look pretty great out actually. Okay, I'm just gonna start to add some more shapes. Okay, something like this. I think that's going to work pretty well. I need to make this finger a little bit more shape to it. Oh no, that's not a bad thing. I mean, there are a lot of good games out there that have that slightly unfinished look that people have. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I really love sculpting. Yeah, I hope I will get this like done this evening or something like that. Because it's definitely a lot of work to just sculpt. Yeah, but remember, knuckles goes this way. They can't go this way, they're going this way. Something like this. Okay, let's see here now. Okay, I'm just gonna do something like this. Create some more very basic shapes. And here then it started to look realistic now. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Starting to look a little bit better, I think. It's far from realistic, I think, but yeah. And you got this. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I hope so at least. Let's see where this goes. Something like this, just sculpting some more basic shapes. Something like this, I think should work pretty well. Just gonna create these shapes here. Look a little bit weird right now. Definitely here looks a little bit weird. But I think I'm just gonna start to add some more shapes, and it's gonna look way better out very soon. Something like that. And here I'm just gonna wait, that's why. Yeah, something like that. Something like just adding a lot, a ton of shape. Something like that. Yeah, starting to feel a little bit in the shoulders and the neck. Maybe should just place the monitor a little bit. It's gonna change the position of the monitor. Something like that. Okay, more like that. More like this. And go from the side like this. Okay, something like that. Yeah, I know it looks weird out now, guys, but just wait a second and it's gonna look way better. So now just adding all these shapes that I wanna work with. That always takes a little bit of time, but usually it's worth it. I usually think, at least. Something like that, just adding these shapes. A little bit more from this side. Yeah, pretty much added the basic shapes that I wanted to add. Yeah, here I can just add the shape here, this bony part. And here as well. Just gonna smooth this out a little bit, so I got those shapes a little bit better blocked in. And then use the trim dynamic just to very quickly indicate some more shapes. I think the fingers are starting to look a little bit better out now. All these shapes added, definitely starting to get some more realism to them. Something like this, just blocking the fingernails a little bit better. We soon need to add some more topology to make this a little bit more realistic. Something like so. That looks very, very bony from this part. I'll make it look a little bit less bony. I need to add some more thickness to this part right here. Oh, I didn't create a nail for the thumb. I'm gonna do that very soon. I forgot about that. Something more like this. Make sure the direction is towards the right path. Something like this. Just want to see if there are some more shapes I can exaggerate a little bit more. Like, yeah, you have these like wrinkles right here, and I can create some more thickness around the finger right here. This goes to this part, just exaggerating some of the features that I can see. Something like that. Yeah, here we need to exaggerate some more features because it looks a little bit too round. And then here, this part in between here, I'm soon gonna have to create. Let's gonna take a look how it looks without the wrist. Let's get a quick save. I'm just gonna watch the progress made from the beginning. Yeah, I think that's progress in the right direction at least. Something like is there a difference between a skinny guy hand and a masculine man? Oh, I guess you mean that like a more muscular man. Yeah. I think there's a little bit of a difference actually. I'm just gonna double check so I don't tell you guys the wrong information. So, yeah, when I sculpt more like skinny guys versus more like muscular guys, on the muscular guys I tend to make the fingers a little bit thicker and not show as much of the bony landmarks, because yes, helps with this like beef look that is gonna be big and strong, kinda. On skinny, of course, I'm trying to exaggerate the bone features, make it real slim. Like these parts, make it slimmer, making the bone more pronounced. Like if you take a look at Gollum or Smeagol from Lord of the Rings and Hobbit. You can see how his fingers are like this, like weird shape. Yeah, so that's just some basic tips, but hope I can create a tutorial on creating hands, because I'm not super good, but I hope that was helpful in some way. Sorry I couldn't help too much there. I'm better at answering questions about muscle anatomy at like torso and stuff like that. Just gonna take a look at the wrinkles here. Something like that. And then here from we have this thing that goes towards here and just fades out. Trim dynamic. Let's go on. Yeah, I'm just gonna add some more volume right here to exaggerate this bone a little bit more. Something like that. Here we're gonna use trim dynamic to just add these shapes or planes towards the edges of the fingers, like so that it's starting to look fine out actually. I'm starting to think that I am learning some more things about hands and how to sculpt them, because I didn't get the result that I kinda wanted. I didn't want to take it too far, I just want to get these like basic shapes blocked in. Because a lot of times when people sculpt hands, okay, I'm just gonna over exaggerate it, they kinda like make them like this, super smooth. That works, but I wanna learn about the shapes in the hand, you know? If you take a look here, I want to learn about the shapes. Just gonna take a look. Something like so we're gonna start to add some wrinkles here now, because they are actually pretty important to the shape. Just gonna take a look here. Yeah, something like that. And then this bigger wrinkle thing right here. This one goes around, and this one also goes around like that, and it just goes into the arm here. Something like that. And to just see what I did, I'm just gonna do something like that. Yeah, just some very basic blocking of the overall shapes. Oh, yeah. Sorry, guys. Let's make it like that again. That's actually a lot of shapes there. Something like this. I'm just gonna try to indicate these planes a little bit more, but keep them subtle at the same time. It's hard to explain, but it makes sense in my head at least. So. Something like this. Let's create a thumbnail. Something like this. Sorry guys, I'm tired. Something like this. Yeah, you see, I need to make it a little bit more round, as with all the other fingers. Yeah, but let's go back to that subject. If there is a difference between skinny guys, guy hands, and masculine hands. Yeah, as I said, and more bony, of course, when they're skinny, and make them a little bit thicker when they are more muscular, so they look more powerful. And when you make them thicker, you can make the entire hand thicker. So instead of having like skinny, you can make it a little bit thicker and over-exaggerated. You see how much stronger this looks, and you can also do it this way. So much stronger this looks super strong. So that's just some very simple tips. Now I'm just gonna keep sculpting here. Okay, something like this. Something like that. I'm just gonna indicate this a little bit better because this makes it a little bit cleaner. That's just easier for my brain to understand what's happening. Okay, now the hard part's about to start. Okay, first we need to fix this nail because it looks horrifyingly bad. Okay, we're just gonna start with adding some more shapes to the thumb. And now we're soon gonna start with the next part. That's the super hard part, refining the hand. Gonna see how that goes, because usually I'm stuck right around here, but it looks so stiff, looks so bad, the hand right now. Like, I mean, it works from a distance, like from here it works fine. It looks super good, it looks super realistic, the proportions, the basic shapes are there. Yeah, I need some sleep. That's true, yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm tired. I need some sleep. That's true. Something like this. I think this is actually fine just as a base for something a little bit better. I think this can be the base. So I'm just gonna zero mesh it. Zero mesh it and see what's happening. I didn't keep it to keep the same. I can just make it like half. Something like this. Let's see. I can figure out the shapes a little bit better. Wait. Get it a smaller. Looks like it got even more. Just gonna smooth over shape out a little bit, like that. And now it's time for like the hardest part of this entire thing, but it's also the last part. So let's do it, guys. I think I'm just gonna smooth it out a little bit like this, and then we're just gonna start adding shapes and adding shapes and adding shapes on top of and on top of each other, and it's making all of these shapes that bring a hand to life, basically. But thumb looks a little bit short. That's why it looks so weird. It doesn't really have the right proportions. I'm trying to figure out why I'm not liking this thumb. Because one single thing I don't like about sculpture, and I'm pretty much gonna throw it away. It's just a speed sculpt, so it's no big deal. Something like that. And here we want this sharp angle. Like sharp. Something like that. Something like that. I just feel it's starting to look a little bit better. I'm gonna pronounce that a little bit more like that. Here, adding these shapes here, this makes the overall thumb look a little bit more realistic. Okay, something like. Let's add all these shapes now, because let's finish this thing once and for all. Just gonna change it to something like that. I'm gonna take some great reference images right here. Kinda making something like this. Let's start with the top right here. Something like that. Okay. First thing, we're gonna need to add more shapes here, and we're gonna do this on a layer, so we can decide how much we want of this later on. Let's start off with creating some very, very basic shapes. Now it's not super visible shapes we're gonna create, but together they're gonna make a huge impact. This whole thing. It's creating a huge difference together. Something like this. Adding this shape here. This is where that's kind of like the part I wanted to do in this live stream. So this is probably the part I will spend a lot of time on, because this is pretty difficult. At least I think so. Something like that. Something just merging this together. Check this again, and let's see if we can find some nice shapes here now. Yeah, it's starting to kind of work. I'm not gonna put too much detail in the fingernails because they're not too hard to create, but they just take some time. And I'm starting to get really tired. Something like so. That's I think that's starting to look fine out actually. Yeah, those shapes are starting to come together real nice. And these shapes need to just be brought together to create this nice looking hand. Something like this. Does any one of you have a question? Yeah, I'm just gonna keep working right here. Adding this shape right here. Adding more shapes and some more shapes. That's starting to give a more realistic look. Yeah, you can see all of these smaller shapes, just mid-frequency, with other words, starting to really bring this piece together. There's a lot of different elements that go together to create a sculpt something like this, but I'm always gonna prefer sculpting something like a face. It's just way more fun. There's a lot of different challenges in a face, and just face off in a different way, you know? I'm just gonna create this shape here that I'm just seeing all these shapes. I'm just gonna create them. Just looking at my hand and just replicating. It's nothing special. Just replicating the shapes that I see. And thinking how it fit together with the anatomical parts, of course. Thinking about the structure. No question, all clear. Okay, great to hear. Okay, I'm just gonna keep working here. Okay. Something like this. Something like, yeah, I think this starting to look a lot better out now actually. Yeah, I think all these smaller shapes actually bring this piece together. At least I start feel like these small shapes starting to help. You can see all these small shapes. something, just adding some more volume right here, just adding some texture with the help of this brush as well. It adds textures automatically. Here we can just see it's supposed to be like separated like this. Something like that, yeah. So I feel like this looks fine out actually. Okay, now the scary part comes to look at it from some different angles, but I first need to just make this right, make it look less stiff, make it more round. Yeah, then if you really want to bring this piece together, like, or bring something together, you're a little bit like stressed out or something, you just focus on contrast, like where the sharp areas are with soft areas around. That usually really helps your piece a lot. Something like so. I'm just gonna add some more volume right here. I think the volume is super important. Without all this extra volume, it would look really flat. So I'm just adding a ton and a ton of extra shapes that you might not think is actually necessary, but they are. So don't forget about them. And this goes for everything, for the hand, the body, of this, just adding mid-frequency. You might not know what to add or something like this, but just look at a bunch of reference images and just really observe. I've done this now for a couple of years, so I'm starting to get a little bit more used to it. So I think it's incredibly hard, and I tend to over-exaggerate the features for good and bad, so yeah, maybe not always should over-exaggerate them as I do, because it looks a little bit too much sometimes, you know. But here now I'm just gonna add some more shapes. These shapes are really helping this guy. Just could add some more shapes. See, just adding these one by one. Take some time, as you can see in these live streams. I'm not super fast at sculpting hands. I can sculpt some things a little bit faster, but I'm not super fast. Something like this and this. So just get the basic shapes down. Oh, here's some mistakes or something I can take a look at. Just here, just adding these shapes here as well. Here it is going like this, like so. And now here you see if there are any more shapes we can just add on top of the shapes we already added. Just thinking, I'm just gonna make them a little bit cleaner, actually, because I need some very clean shapes if I want it to look more realistic. Then don't forget about adding a ton of details after you're done with all these important shapes, because if you add the details before, it's just gonna look like a huge mess, and you don't want it to look like terrible because you didn't want to spend enough time on the basic shapes, right? Yeah, I'm starting to get really tired. Okay, let's see here now. Something like this. Okay, now I think there's some time to add some very important landmarks to the overall fingers. I'm just gonna smooth this out a little bit so it looks more like this, and then I can just use smooth. I don't want all these over exaggerated wrinkles in between here now though. Not anymore, at least. I'm just gonna use the trim dynamic to delete some of these edges right here. Make it not as sharp. This one can still be sharp because I like it. But something more like that, I feel like it's more realistic. Here you're starting to add these shapes here. Add these shapes. There are one line, and here is like a couple of lines, and further down it's like just like this. So be sure to indicate it like this so you don't just do like this. That's how I did it in the beginning, and it does the work, I guess, but it doesn't look like good out. You need to really focus on the references that you have and work around them. That's how I tend to work, at least. Something like this, just adding some more shape here now to indicate where I want everything, so everybody is on the same page. After watching you, it's very hard to sculpt hands, so I will create a character that lost his hands in a car accident. That was yeah, that's usually how I want to solve my characters. I may just usually just create add using old hands I created before, just smashing them on top of my characters because I don't want to create new hands if I don't have to, but it's a good practice. And I need to do this more often so I become faster at sculpting hands. But it's still a long process for sculpting at least more realistic hands. That's what I'm going for. And here I'm actually have this like double here as well. Something like this. Something like that's actually looking pretty good out. I'm still gonna sharpen up some more lines. I'm just gonna sharpen up some more stuff right here. Yeah, I just want to thank you guys for staying with me on this live stream. Really appreciate it. It's hard to sculpt hands, I can just agree on that. Adding all these shapes here. I didn't like that wrinkle. It needs a lot more work before I can just add that line in there. But here it's a little bit more well done wrinkles. Something like this. Like that, and then something like this. And here you can sit and sculpt wrinkles all day long. I'm just going to indicate some of the basic wrinkles because it's not the wrinkles that I want to focus on. I want to focus on just the basic shapes. So then I'm going to use this brush, standard brush. I'm just going to use alpha off and freehand. Something like that. What do you think about the hand, guys? Do you think it starts to look fine, or do you think it looks really bad? I think it's starting to get somewhere, I guess. Not really sure if it looks fine. I think the overall shapes are getting there. I'm gonna save it. Gonna soon create some better fingernails. Just gonna make sure these shapes works a little bit better. Right here, just adding more geometry, making sure it looks like wrinkles without this super sharp line, because this super sharp line is just to add some more contrast. If the wrinkle doesn't work without these super sharp lines, don't add this sharp line because it's not gonna look like a wrinkle. Just gonna need to check from this angle how it looks, because this is how the hand is supposed to be seen right now, and I think the underside right there, underneath the hand right there, doesn't look pretty realistic out actually, especially from a little bit more of a distance where we are supposed to be, because this is just mid frequency, so somewhere from around here I'm pretty happy with this. Looks fine. Okay, let's do the top of the hand. Now we are almost finished, guys. Just gonna indicate these shapes a little bit better. Something like that, I think. Something like that. Just adding all these super basic shapes, just to have some more variation. Just adding some more variation, I think. It looks very good. You're doing a great job. Oh, thank you so much. I think it's at least finally started paying off all these 2.5 hours I've been sitting and sculpting a hand. I really appreciate the kind words. Thank you so much. something like just looking from every single angle, trying to figure out what I want to change. I like kind of like these knuckly shapes right here, so I'm just gonna add the wrinkles. Just gonna add these wrinkles here, so, or some wrinkles at least, so I have something here. Something like this. Just observe your reference. Something like this. No, not like that. More like it's all more pressed together. I don't have this. Yeah, I do have the wrinkles here, I guess. Didn't like those wrinkles there, so I'm just gonna recreate them. If you're not happy with it, just recreate it. Don't. If you're not sure if it's gonna work, redo it, and do not just power through, because I did that before and I wasn't happy with the result. So I just recommend just smoothing it out and starting again. That looks fine-ish, I guess. Doesn't look really like how I want it to look, but it's good enough. It's not the wrinkles I'm supposed to be like working on most. Just this is just for making it look a little bit more finished. Something like that, and then something like this, and adding now the overall shape of the nails. I'm gonna start with adding the overall silhouette like this, trying to figure out how the nails are going to look. Now you can see the nails are starting to look a little bit better. Yeah, and you should actually add a lot more like folds and stuff on these wrinkles, because I haven't really like made a lot of stuff to make them more realistic, but I kinda get the idea. You could work a lot more hours on this, because it's starting to get the overall purpose that I wanted it to do, just sculpt a nice looking hand. And that I think it's starting to look pretty nice out now, actually. Something like that. Sculpting and a wrinkle as well. I think the wrinkles were a little bit too far back, so I'm just gonna recreate these wrinkles again. Something like this. Yeah, that looks way better. Something like that, and then we're just gonna sharpen these nails up from the front like this, so they really pop. Something like this. You see, I'm not using too much topology, keeping it very low, because I'm not wanting to make a lot of details. I'm just wanting to learn about the shapes. So I'm gonna keep it very, very like low poly like this. Something like this. We've done around 5,000 brush strokes, which 5,000 changes to this model. I'm just gonna do some small tweaks, and I'm going to call it done, because I'm starting to get extremely tired. as I've said to you guys a lot of times now. Something like this. And here we can actually add more shapes if we want to, like this, adding these like shapes on this side like that. And here I just think this needs to be placed a little bit further forward and the nail a little bit further backwards like this, because it looks just a little bit weird. Using this, just using the brush to just indicate these lines a little bit more clear, to make sure there is a little bit more definition to the overall shape. Because definition is key to create a sculpture that looks at least fine. Something like that, and something like this, something like that, and now just creating these overall shapes here, creating these like more wrinkly shapes. Yeah, that is actually starting to look pretty good out now, guys. Now guys, it's starting to look nice. Indicate these wrinkles a little bit more. I can sit and sculpt on a hand like this all day long, but I can't do that today because the day is ending now. It's time to like soon sleep, I think. Something like that, and adding these wrinkles, that's just necessary wrinkles, adding them. Making sure the necessary wrinkles are there. Here, just to create the illusion that this has been a little bit more stretched and stuff like that. And some final tweaks here, maybe. Something like this. Yeah, something like that. Think I'm just gonna look one last time, and then I think we're gonna call it done, guys. Do you think it's something more I should do to the hand, or should I call it done? Because I think it's starting to look pretty nice. Just gonna add these shapes here as well. Just like shapes, they are pretty important actually. Yeah, I think I'm gonna call it done if you guys don't have another suggestion what I should add. Or if you want me to show you something, then I think we're gonna call it done. I'm just gonna give you guys a couple of minutes to write, like 2 minutes or something. And I can just add some detail to this guy. That's awesome. Then like, actually very happy with this hand, because this is by far the best hand I've ever created, but I haven't taken a lot of time to create hands before, so it's a step in the right direction. Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate your kind words. You should be proud of yourself. You will sleep so good. Yeah, I'm going to sleep good. Yeah, so thank you so much. Thank you guys so much for watching this live stream. This is my first live stream ever. I hope you enjoyed it. I think we're just gonna call it done. So thank you guys so much. And if you got any question or something, please contact me on Instagram. My Instagram is on my YouTube channel. Yeah, so thank you again, guys. Have a nice one. See you next time. Just gonna say, oh wait.